Good evening, and welcome to Targeted Massachusetts Northeast Conference and home of the Allen Institute for Human Rights. You can visit the Allen Institute at https://AIHR.foundation. My name is Frank Allen, and I will be your host for the evening. The views and opinions that are expressed by our listeners are not necessarily the views of Targeted Massachusetts, the Allen Institute, nor myself. It is the goal of this conference to be a place where people who are victims of organized stalking, intimidation, electronic torture, and mind control in all differing forms and from various sources can feel free to openly and safely discuss any of their fears, hopes, strategies, and solutions for themselves, and to offer advice, support, and encouragement for one another. It is understood that some people may not always agree with one another. So let us start this conference with the willingness to agree to disagree, keeping in mind that it is more important to support one another than for us to always be right. Okay, we have a grand total of 8 people here so far. Okay, anybody hear me okay? Or everybody? We have Ann from St. Louis, Anonymous, AZ Gal, Candace, Gabby, Name, and None at none.com. Okay, we're supposed to have 2 guests. Lark from Texas is supposed to stop in for an hour, and then we are going to be visited by, let me see, Laurie Burch, I believe, and she will be spending some time with us as well. So how are you doing, Ann? Okay, Ann's not with us. How you doing, Name?
Hello.
Hi, Ann. How you doing?
Oh, I'm hanging in there, fine. I just was wondering, what's the loudest I can play this pink noise that I have without disturbing my neighbors?
You can play it as loud as you can stand it.
Oh. Well, because I don't want to bother my neighbors.
Right. Well, that is something for your headphones, the pink noise.
Okay. Well, the thing is, with this one particular track that I have, it's very effective because they hate it. But that's too bad. War is hell. Anyhow, well, then they push the abuse through the earbuds. I can pull the earbuds out and still hear that through there. So they're somehow, I don't know, piggybacking into the speakers on the headphones.
Well, you will hear the perpetrators everywhere, no matter what you do. You will hear them through the earbuds, on the other side of the earbuds. If they are truly perpetrators, you will hear them no matter what. If there's a bulldozer working outside, you will still hear them.
Well, that's about the only thing that helps is whenever we have some work done around here.
Yeah.
How was your day?
My day was very good.
I'm glad to hear that.
Finally getting this new sound system online, and I had a couple of different people help me, and that was great. What we had was a blind conference. We had many individuals, stopping in and saying hi and whatnot. But you're all free to unmute. Just hit *6 if you're a caller. If you came in by computer, all you have to do is make that orange microphone ring. And I see we have Lark in Texas right on time. I'm going to start a Q&A and see if I can get Lark online here. Okay, Lark, I'll be with you in a second. Okay, Lark, how you doing?
Not too bad. Yourself?
Oh, very good, thank you.
I could stand for the volume to be a little louder at your end. I don't know if there's something I can do.
Are you on your computer?
I am.
Well, on your keyboard, you should see a couple of speakers with a plus, a minus, and a mute.
Let me try that.
Look around that keyboard. They're usually up above the function keys.
Yeah, I think I found it. I think I've got you good.
Okay. Good.
Thanks for the tip.
Yeah, I'm trying a new sound system tonight that's very elaborate, so I'm working it in gradually, and it's working out well, I think, so far.
Well, good. Oh, I'm pleased to be with you tonight and your listeners.
Right. If we can just talk amongst ourselves for a few minutes, I think there are a few people on here that could start asking you questions right now. And that way there we can build our audience until after 9. It's 8:59 now. So we should have some more listeners, at least above 20 by, we'll say, 9:10, maybe 9:05. Yeah, they're going up already. So we also have Laurie Burch tonight on after you, and she will be discussing her Cry Out meetup, which is actually in July. I think it ends on July the 1st or July the 2nd. I'd have to pull up the flyer. But you can start anytime you want, and we can go back and forth, and I think this should be fun.
Well, I guess the first thing that is on my mind is if anybody currently listening had a chance to visit my website or consider any of the information that I tried to put out last week at this time.
Right, exactly 1 week ago. And we asked everybody to study.
Yeah, I know everybody's busy today. And so that's the first question I have, because it's going to give me some reference point from which to begin.
I'm sure, knowing my listeners, that they have, in fact, done some research.
Well, let's hear from them.
Okay.
Call in, somebody. Just put some information in the chat. Let me know that you looked into any of the information.
Setsa, none, name, MTC1 Racer, Gabby, Scylla, Candace, AZ Girl, Jane, Anonymous, Ann, Sherman Oaks, Myron Carrier, which is not actually Myron. Would anybody like to put anything in the chat that they would like answered or that you would like to discuss?
Otherwise, I'm prepared to begin. But the first thing I want to say is that, y'all, we live under a new form of governance. Notice I didn't say government. We live under a system of communitarian governance, and it's undergirded by communitarian law. This is the same law some of you may be familiar with, is the new law of the European Union. In the French, it's known as acquis communautaire. In the English, it's known as communitarian law. Governance indeed means management, and that would be your management, your loved one's management, your children's management, your parents' management. It is a scientific dictatorship of the community in which you and I now find ourselves. Now, I understand no one sent you the memo. They never sent me the memo. We weren't consulted. This has been happening right under our noses for a very long time. Now, the first thing you have to ask yourself is this: what is communitarianism? And the second thing you have to ask yourself is, what is communitarian law? And the third thing you need to ask yourself is, why should I give a damn? Why should I care about an 8-syllable word, an ism, no less, and a law that I've never heard of? Now, if you live over in Europe and you're listening to the BBC, what you're hearing from those BBC announcers is words like EU law or community law. In this country, you don't hear anything about it. The news media today, the mainstream news media, is in bed with the CIA and the Department of the Defense and the Federal Reserve. And you were not deemed important enough to be sent a memo that your life is changed forever.
Correct.
Now, when you hear a word or read a word that ends in the suffix ISM, don't let it get you going.
Okay, Lark.
Don't be daunted.
We have a question,
yeah,
or maybe a follow-up from Sherman Oaks, California. Go ahead. You're unmuted. Go ahead, Sherman Oaks. Okay, Sherman Oaks, California. You had a question for Lark. Okay, next question, Anonymous. Are you ready? You are unmuted. Okay, they might have jumped in line when they got on the call, because it's actually pretty common. So we're going to give the floor back to you, Lark, and you can continue.
Very good. When you see or read or hear a word which ends in the suffix ISM, be undaunted. It simply means school of thought. And within every school of thought, you will always find variance of opinion. Now, I want to point out that I have a couple of websites that you all are welcome to visit. The old website is today defunct. I think I quit posting around 2013 or thereabouts. The web address is simply larkintexas.blogspot.com. And there you're going to see a repository of research notes and links. It's essentially a link farm. So back in 2011 and 12, I did a radio broadcast, and these were my research notes for each broadcast. They were published in advance of every broadcast, which broadcast every Saturday afternoon, once a week for 1 hour. You're going to find, when you get to larkintexas.blogspot.com, the sum of all things, number 5. This is to say that you're looking at number 5 of a 5-part series. I recommend you start there. And then go back to the beginning of the blog, because I titled every single post. Remember, it wasn't a true blog. I never had the comments on. It was simply for the benefit of the listeners, for people that were researchers and that were simply wanting to learn something beyond their worldview. And so I recommend they start with Diogenes, go to Slave Speak and Hermes, and just read from there. But then the new website is more current. It's much more concise. There is a brevity of language for the purpose that I want people to read it and then start asking questions and become their own expert about what is going on in this world today. How is my life being impacted by this kind of thinking? Okay, because that's what we're talking about. A school of thought with variances of opinion and a law which has been superimposed over and upon, overlaid upon so-called American law and every nationalist law in the world. Now, these free trade agreements, so-called, had, back in the 90s, a contract clause known as the supremacy of communitarian law. Now, why is this? Because if you happen to be a head of a multinational corporation negotiating a contract and or doing business with another multinational corporation in the States, say you live in Germany, and in turn both of you have fulfillment contracts for products or goods that come from a multinational corporation in the People's Republic of China, and you have a contract dispute requiring adjudication in a court of law, which law will hold? German law, American law, or Chinese law? It makes sense. If you're going to have a one world system of global governance or management, then you have to have a one world law. And guess what? These people have it in their mind to create a one world religion as well, because religion, philosophy, economics, and law are essentially inseparable. So that new website is simply tinyurls.com/Lark in Texas. No separation. And I would suggest really that people start there. The first entry can be read in 1 minute. It tells you right there when you click on it.
Okay, Lark, I've had several emails saying that you were speaking about communism in the United States, and I emailed them back stating that you were actually naming what humanitarianism is, and that's a cross between socialism and communism, and it is what the world would like to institute. Am I correct?
Well, let's put it this way. The thought leaders who are on the take, that's what they want. That would be the bankers, the international bankers, and the industrialists, particularly the heads of multinational corporations. It basically is the synthesis in the Hegelian dialectic, which is to say that it is the result when you cross communism with fascism. It's both. This is how they keep the people divided in each other's throats. It is easily spelled out as the synthesis, again, of the thesis communism juxtaposed against the thesis and the antithesis. This goes back even before the creation of the United Nations at the end of World War II. They were looking for something called convergence. I mean, we discovered this back in the 60s, that these foundations, these very uber wealthy individuals and the people that their circles in which they run, they want to bring together the legal systems of the former Soviet Union and the People's Republic of China, now the European Union, and the US and Canada and every other nation state in the land. We live in a time in which nation states have been deemed obsolete. They're unnecessary. This is according to them, including the good old USA. And what will take its place, the nation state, is the so-called market security state. And this, in turn, will give rise to the tech-driven, data-driven smart city or city-state. Nation-state, bye-bye. Market security state, welcome. And now we have the smart city or city-state. And these things are regionalized. Now, there was a book written by Ludwig von Mises, I believe back in the 50s. It was called Human Action. Ludwig von Mises was famous for being opposed to every brand and style of socialism. He comes out of the University of Chicago. The guy is a Rockefeller man. Okay? Many people in that circle, they describe themselves as libertarians. I remember the inaugural Mont Pelerin Society. The man who kept the meetings was a man named Henry Hazlitt, who wrote Economics in One Lesson. Mont Pelerin means Mount Pilgrim. The Fabians from 1884 morphed into splinter groups, and one of them was the Pilgrim Societies, and they were created all over the world. And so you have to know that they wanted to wrest sovereign control over first the monarchs of old Europe, medieval Europe, if you will, and then they wanted to wrest control away from governments themselves, as they were created by the people along the way. So the only thing that remains of the U.S. government is the mind control from which the word sprang. In a technocratic era, if you will, in a time of instant communication, the information age, these people think that, well, they can run the whole damn world by computer. These people that are supposedly your elected and selected representatives, these appointees, are frankly just sock puppets. They are actors. They're on the take. They're getting paid good money to become propagandists. The other thing you need to realize is that many people today that you think represent you, like the mayor of your town, a member of the city council, your county commissioners, the people on the that head up the school boards, the school superintendent and the like, you think these people actually represent the community, don't you? Well, no. These people sign non-compete, non-disclosure agreements just like everyone else that's in the defense contracting industry or big tech. Because we live in a gig economy. People get these gigs via contract, and they are very concerned about their trademarks, their copyrights, their patents, their intellectual property being disseminated willy-nilly without their permission. So this, in effect, means that the president, your Congress critter, your mayor, the member that you think represent, the gentleman or woman that you think represents you on the city council and speaks for you and represents your interest, these people now have a legal right to lie to you or to shade the truth because, in fact, they are not answerable to their so-called constituents any longer. They're not going to tell you this because it's against their contractual agreement. So again, I'm going to say it one more time. The new system of governance that you live and suffer under is known as communitarianism. It marries together the worst elements of capitalism, corporativism, fascism, Talmudism, Marxism, cultural Marxism, you name it. If you don't like it, probably it's because of this marriage of capitalism and communism. And so it doesn't matter where you stand on the political spectrum. There's something about this that everyone can hate. And in fact, we must stand up to it because, frankly, they've got a hold of our children, folks. All the way from preschool, all the way through graduate school. And we can talk about that in some detail, if you like, but the fact of the matter is that we need to get knowledged up, all of us. We can always learn, and we can always learn from each other. But I'm telling you something that you probably don't know. And I'm not here, no one's paying me to be here. I'm telling you for your own good. Now, you can reject it if you like. You're certainly welcome. I am a man who actually admires the guy that knows how to shoe a horse, and he loves dogs. Okay, and everybody admires this man because he knows how to shoe a horse and he loves animals. Now, I want to protect that man. I want to protect the mother of a 3-year-old who's contemplating enrolling her child in a public school today. They need to know what to expect. There are serious researchers out there that do not follow the narrative of the agitprop that you are digesting from your local hometown newspaper and from the television. You're not going to be informed at all if you think you're being informed by reading your hometown newspaper and watching the television. I can promise you. We've had 2 former CIA directors tell us as much back in the 70s. William Casey and William Colby. Basically what they said is they want it so that the American people don't know what's up, what's down, and what's left and what's right. They wanted us to be as mushrooms in the dark because otherwise they're not going to be able to get away with this digital panopticon that is being erected all around us. We have to understand that the people that are making bank and doing well in this system are actually weaving the spider's web in which all of us are going to be ensnared. Remember that nice 16-year-old boy that came over to your house when you moved into the neighborhood and he wanted to mow your grass? Well, he now is armed and dangerous with a computer science degree. And he loves it. He goes to work, he wears slacks, he's dressed well, he's knocking down 85 grand a year, he drives a new car, he's got the world by the tail, and the guy just got rid of his pimples. They have no idea what they've got themselves into. All they know is that they love their smartphones. They love it. And they love the internet. Nowadays, they're saying, well, you can get rich on the internet. And you can watch free smut. And you can spy on people. You can be a hacker. Then you'll be a hero. But we need to be concerned about all of these so-called GRIN technologies. GRIN is an acronym. Genetics, robotics, information, and nanotech. The watchword in these industries, people employed within these industries, is innovate. Innovate. Innovate or die. This is the world we live in. And most of it are completely unaware.
I would say all of them are completely unaware of what you speak of.
Well, and I'm telling you, I'm nobody special. In my life, I was a cook. I dropped out of college halfway through my second year because I didn't want to be brainwashed. John Maynard Keynes, in an address at Harvard University soon after World War II, he said this. You can read it in a book that was written by Zygmunt Dobbs in 1960. It was called Keynes at Harvard, Deception as a Political Credo. To paraphrase, he said that the Marxian socialists had it all wrong because their appeal was to the man who could wield a pitchfork, the wage slave, the farmer, the rancher, the simple man, the common man. If they could just rile these people up, they would storm the Bastille and they'd throw the bastards out. They'd kill the king. They'd lynch him, cut off his head on a guillotine, whatever. But the Fabian socialist had it more right. And remember, John Maynard Keynes was a Fabian socialist. He said that they would appeal to the trust fund babies, the beautiful people, the people who were success-driven. They wanted to get ahead. They wanted to do well in this world. They were social climbers. That's the people that they would enlist to their cause, because they would bring all the unwitting dupes and useful idiots along with them. And that's why you have trust fund babies like Anderson Cooper. And who's the character over on Fox? I can't even, see, I don't even watch TV anymore. You know who I'm talking about, the young punk kid, you know, that sounds very shrill and very hip. That really is Anderson Cooper's on CNN's counterpart on Fox. But these are just examples. Today they hire celebrities, you know, to basically push this agenda. And remember, the money's fake, y'all. If you own the money and it's fake, how many people can you buy? You can buy all the science and opinion you want. Because I'm going to tell you, science fraud in the communitarian world is rampant. It's rife. You have the life sciences, you have the physical sciences, and now you have the social sciences, and they all get a seat at the table. They get to weigh in on how best to implement domestic and foreign policy. You think the soldier boys are on your side? How about those big tech heroes that we read about in the papers or online every day? Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates. Indeed. I don't care how much money they have. I don't care how glib they are, very smart they seem, and even how very rational they sound. The fact is that we have had a tension throughout the history of American life between the so-called great work and the great experiment. And the quintessential American ideal is that man was born as a sovereign without subjects. This means that we have the right to exercise free will as our natural endowment. Personal autonomy is what we stand for. True freedom of choice is what we stand for. And what communitarianism is, just like every other system of socialism that you can name, are systems of arrested development. These are systems which seek to thwart and to harvest all human potential, including yours and those of your loved ones. This is what it means to be an American. But we've forgotten these things. Communitarians today, they give a damn a whole lot about their perquisites and benefits, more so than they care about things like freedom, which is exercise of free will in its essence, or liberty. Liberty is locomotion, the ability to go from point A to point B under your own volition, beneath your own power, whether mentally or physically. Freedom, exercise of free will. Is this one of your endowments as a human being? Yes or no? And this thing called liberty, locomotion, the ability to go from point A to point B of your own volition, beneath your own power, whether mentally or physically. We have forgotten all of these things, y'all. Because guess what? These things like instinct and intuition are being bred out of us. And these people think they hold all the cards today. They've got everybody in love with big tech. They have us by the short hairs because we love the tools which will enslave us, which will imprison us forever.
I'd like to add one thing to what you've been saying. When we were kids, we used to go to parties, and everyone was partying. Today, you go to a party, and everyone is sitting around texting and looking at their phones. That's dangerous.
Well, all you have to do is imagine the scene of a school bus emptying in a neighborhood. A dozen schoolboys and girls are exiting the school bus, and now they're walking on the sidewalk toward their respective homes. Every single one of them has a smartphone in their hands before their very eyes, looking down at the screen as they're tootling along the sidewalk. Walk into a restaurant, a family of 5. How many are looking at their smartphones while they're sitting at the table? Now, I'm telling you, we have some very serious issues to think about and to talk about. I mean, you have to ask yourself, when you were a little boy or a little girl, imagine the life that you imagined for yourself. you have to go back and have a conversation with that person again. And ask yourself if you're really down with this idea of being surveilled 24/7, conducting all your affairs on the internet, your banking, buying things from Amazon, having your restaurant meals delivered, and soon your groceries. You're totally dependent on the grid, the electrical companies, the gas companies, telephone companies, and big tech. Is this healthy? Where do we begin to fight back? Look what's happening in the public schools today, y'all. I mean, this is a national disgrace. So I'm telling you something that you never were sent the memo about. And neither was anybody else that you know. But there are people that have been researching this for a very long time. And they want to help. You know, one of the hallmarks, one of the distinguishing characteristics of any totalitarian system of governance is a quote-unquote complex ideology. And communitarianism is no different. It's designed that way to keep you befuddled and baffled so you never know which end is up. You don't know who to trust when it comes to issues concerning your health or your body. You don't know anything about the law because you are being buffalo jumped. You know, I would never trust a white coat with my life, ever. They murdered every member of my nuclear family. I despise the ground these people walk on. And I'm not going to pay a damn attorney who is a member of a criminal protection racket, just like these damn doctors, a damn thing. Because they're running a racket. Law is not useful to anybody unless it's intelligible to everybody. In other words, everybody knows what the law is because it makes perfect sense and everybody is down with it. But think about it. The law today is this crazy mashup of administrative law, agency law, communitarian law, reflexive law, statutes, codes, ordinances, rules, regulations, and you name it. If you were to get a legal-sized sheet of paper, I guarantee you, and there was 10 people doing this exercise, and you're going to name every kind of law that you can think of, I personally can fill the whole page, 2 columns, of the different types of law. Do y'all know the difference between negative rights and positive rights? How about negative law versus positive law? Do you know the difference between morals, ethics, and values, for instance? Did you know that Anthony Fauci's wife, Christine Grady, is a bioethicist, but also an epidemiologist and a communitarian? Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel is a bioethicist. Did you know that all law enforcement in this country today is communitarian? They had it all arranged prior to 9/11. All law enforcement today falls underneath the rubric or the aegis of the Department of Homeland Security. That's the Highway Patrol, the Coast Guard, the FBI, the sheriffs, the Metropolitan Police Departments, ICE, you name it, Airport, TSA, all is under Department of Homeland Security. And you know who their consultants were when they were creating that? Prior to 9/11, Marcus Wolf, former head of the East German Stasi. Evgeny Primakov, former head of the Soviet GRU, or the, what do they call it? KGB.
Yeah, GRU, I think is the new name. We have a question for you, Lark.
Sure.
Anonymous, go ahead. You're unmuted.
Hey, Frank, how you doing?
Very good, sir.
When your guest was talking about the law, he should also mention the law and color of law, because I've been to a lot of these courts where judges pretend to have jurisdiction and authority when they have none. And that's so they can run their game on you.
Yeah, the moment you enter a court of law, you've lost, in my opinion.
I agree, because they already know the outcome before, it gets started.
They're also all privatized. They're not about justice. They're about making money.
Exactly right.
In this country today, there is no longer any such thing as a public office or public lands. There is no commons. I'm telling you, I'm not whistling Dixie, y'all.
You're right. You're speaking a lot of truth. And the education that we get in school is a blue pill education.
We were afforded the education of a slave. And so were our parents and grandparents. We don't even know our own history. We think we know it. But that's because the winners are the ones that write the script.
That's right.
We've been lied to our entire lives about the creation of this country, its history, the result of these wars throughout our history, who really emerged, who came out on top. Most Americans today don't even realize the federal government has been in bankruptcy since 1933. We have been living under martial rule under international law since 1863. Because the war between the states was a communist revolution funded on both sides by the communists, and the communists won. But no, you were never told that, were you?
Nope, a lot of things we weren't told.
If you pay...
American people didn't win World War I or World War II. You can take that to the bank. We lost. We spent blood and treasure. And we lost. This is not a free country at all. There's no such thing as democracy. It's not a republic. You know, the Club of Rome white papers from the late 60s decided that democracy was just too messy. They had to do away with it. It was not efficient. And remember, capitalists love efficiency. They don't like red tape, rules, and regulations preventing them from doing business with whoever they damn well please. They've destroyed the middle class. We don't have a sovereign nation state at all. And the truth is, I don't think it's ever been sovereign. I think the truth of the matter is, during the Treaty of Paris signing, that final language, I think what was created was a suzerainty. And the colonists were afforded the status of a protectorate. And the crown, the city of London, is the suzerain. And they control this country today. Look at the role of the OSS during World War II, which became the CIA. Are you all aware that on the date that the Rand Corporation was incorporated was the very day that Israel declared its independence, and Harry Truman was the first head of state to recognize them? That was the very day that the Rand Corporation was incorporated. Are you all aware that the Dallas Citizens Council, where I live, was incorporated on November 22nd, 1937. And on November 22nd, 1963, it tasked itself with controlling the flow of information in and out of Dallas, the scene of the crime. Did you know that on September 11th, 1882 was convened the so-called Dresden Conference in Germany? And what was created was something you can search on the internet called the Dresden Manifesto. On the same dates, in 1893, at the Chicago Exposition, was inaugurated the world's first Parliament of Religions. And on September 11th, 1941, the cornerstone for the Pentagon was laid in a Freemasonic ceremony. That on September 11th, 1991, George W. Bush spoke about 1,000 points of light and a new world order, a big idea. Look what happened on... See, these people are virtue signaling each other. We're in charge. We got it. We're under control. Everything's under control. You see? And there are more examples like that. But I like to stay in... I'm a very pragmatic kind of a person. I'm pretty down to earth. And these ideas of communitarianism, they arose in academia upon the publication in 1971 entitled A Theory of Justice by Harvard professor John Rawls.
Lark, I have a question from Fiona.
All right.
Go ahead, Fiona. You are now unmuted.
Yeah, thank you. I figured some of this out, and the more I realized that this is a political persecution that's going on with me, and I guess I was just naive, kind of. As to the sort of old COINTELPRO, I considered myself pretty under the radar. I wasn't really outspoken. A lot of what you've mentioned, I didn't know, but I was pretty woke to, we've never had anything remotely related to a democracy in this country. And I had been following, Transition Towns, which is a global anarchist movement, and now I find that this is that this country, I found myself kind of under the radar. I didn't even self-describe myself as an activist. And I'm sorry, I'm not really sure where this question's going, but
can I tell you that Transition Towns is communitarian?
Yes, I knew that. Yes.
Okay.
It's communitarian.
That's what they're advocating for. That's what they're advocating for without spelling it out or saying the word. In fact, the organizers may not realize it themselves.
Yeah, and I was kind of low profile in that community, and I didn't think of myself as being politically persecuted. But I feel I was politically persecuted because I wanted to partake in that movement, and it's pretty scary because I wasn't being really political. I was just really low profile, just kind of in this community. And now I have a teaching credential, and they'll never let me teach. I'll never teach. I have a single subject teaching credential in history.
Fiona, if I can recommend something for you and the listeners, there's a pretty old website. It's called it was originally called the Fellowship for Intentional Communities. It's now called the Foundation for Intentional Community, and the web address is simply ic.org. intentional community. There's something else you can search. Go there and then do a site search for the word communitarian. They actually give out a communitarian award. Now, you can also do a search, timeline of communitarianism. Timeline of communitarianism. Okay. And that's going to be very helpful because, I mean, a lot of people are very idealistic. I know I was as a young man, you know, going through college and early in life. And so, I mean, I welcome people that are thinking, and they're thinking in an altruistic fashion. They're looking for the best way to navigate this life. Most people want to be good people. You know, they're very interested in doing something positive and productive, and they want to be good to their neighbors, and they want to be compassionate and understanding and all these things as we mature. But we have to understand that these people within academia and the people who fund them, they have access to the finest minds in the world. Behaviorists, psychologists, psychiatrists, economists. They are harvesting their human potential to their aims. In other words, everybody is ripe for the picking in this kind of a system. People who are professional people in particular, they have no idea that they are being steered, if you will, into a cybernetic system. Post-World War II, during the Macy conferences, it was styled Applied Systems Analysis. And during these Macy conferences, these academics were so specialized in their métiers that they had to find something in which they could all agree on. And they decided that it was the nature of control. If you go to my website, I put it in the chat room. Again, tinyurl.com/Lark in Texas. It's called The Coalescence of Cybernetics. Go there and look at it. It's only going to take you about 2 to 3 minutes to read it. There are outbound links to the American Cybernetic Society, or American Society of Cybernetics, forgive me. Look at their timeline. All of human history, especially surrounding what we call civilization, with the advent of agriculture, we've always had the same problem of the few seeking to rule over the many. It's with us today. But see, the American experiment was something different.
Yeah, I feel like Transition Town.
Yeah. You go to my old website, do a search, Transition Town. You know, you'll see the old articles, you know, back from, 2020, 2012 or thereabouts.
Yeah, so I think this, without a doubt, this is a political persecution for me.
Well, don't forget, they've enlisted a lot of people who are success-driven. They want to get ahead. They want to do well. They seek the opprobrium of their peers. They are status seekers. They want people to think well of them. I've got a nice home. My kids are well dressed. They're well mannered. I've got 3 cars. I have a lake house. And my colleagues love me. Okay? These are the people that they want to enlist, because they go along to get along real well. They know how to play the game. They're quite practiced in the art. You know, they're looking to climb the social ladder, the economic ladder, the financial ladder. And these are the best people you want, because they're go along to get along types. They're compliant. They're complacent. COMPLAISANT. That means agreeable, gregarious, eager to please. And finally, they're complicit. This is what happens. And they get, it's like a guy or a gal who goes through medical school or law school. These people are victimized no differently than a soldier boy at boot camp. It's called trauma-based mind control. They are flooded with so much information, they don't have time to think. Because all they want to do is pass the test so they can move on. And then when they're finally unleashed upon the public to ply their trade, to practice their crafts, they're dangerous. Because all they can think about at that point is making bank and continuing to get along, to go along, to get along. And they're not, and 10 years down the road, these people, many of them probably realize that they've involved themselves in systemic corruption and organized crime. Doctors are drug dealers, for God's sake. Attorneys, all they can think about is, how do we get this son of a bitch into my profit funnel? Because if I'm told that if I just do as I'm told and play the game, I'm going to make really good money. In 1968, there was no such thing as brain death. When a human being stopped breathing and his heart stopped beating, he was dead. But guess what? They had artificial means to keep the lungs respirating and the heart beating, circulating. So within the standard of care, they didn't know when to pull the tubes out of the guy and pronounce that there was nothing more they could do for the guy without artificial means. So they got together with the people in the legal fraternity, and they decided that they had to marry the standard of care with the language of the law. And this is when they created a new industry which was just burgeoning and ready to explode, called organ harvesting. It's a huge worldwide business, and every hospital in this country is involved in it. Organ harvesting, organ trafficking, $11+ million per body. And that patient, that hapless patient, is immobilized. Doesn't mean they can't feel pain, but they can't bat an eyelid. And that team of doctors goes in and carves that poor bastard up, and they're selling these things all over the world in an auction. It's all done by the internet.
Lark?
Yes?
I just want to point out, I didn't want to interrupt you, but don't ever put organ donor on your driver's license, because if you're tipping one way or the other, you will soon be an organ donor, because they make millions, as Lark has said. Don't ever put that on your driver's.
Yep. Yeah, you get you have a son, he gets in a car wreck, or he's cleaning his pistol and he accidentally shoots himself. But, he's in a bad way. He's in the hospital. And then you say, well, there's not anything, they tell you, well, there's not anything we can do for him, I'm sorry. But, he can be an organ donor, and save the lives of countless other people, and his legacy can live on. They're going to carve your young son up like a pig, and he's going to feel every cut, every pain that you can imagine if he was not anesthetized. The guy's name is Dr. Paul Byrne, B-Y-R-N-E. You can go to a URL, spingola.com/lark.html. That's S-P-I-N, spin, G-O-L-A, spingola.com/lark, L-A-R-K.html, and listen to that broadcast. The notes are right there. I mean, this is only just one very small but important part of this horror story that's unfolding before our eyes, of which we have been taken totally unaware because we were never sent the memo, ladies and gentlemen. I wasn't either. I've been at this for 17 years. Do a search on the internet. Somebody's been at this since 1999. Do a search. It's called the Definitive Anti-Communitarian Manifesto.
Does the donor or the donor's family, more importantly, get any of these monies? No, they do not.
Of course not. I'm telling you, listen, I did some investigation where I live, the Dallas Citizens Council. The former president actually was a front person put up to head the country, these large, huge companies that entered into contractual agreements with companies like Humana and Kaiser Permanente and Baylor Medical Hospital Systems because they wanted the contracts to harvest all the organs. And, of course, they're filthy rich. The truth of the matter is you don't even need insurance today. There's no American hospital that can, well, let's put it this way, a so-called public hospital, they can't turn you away anyway. And this entire insurance system is a huge scam as well. But all of us want to be responsible. We don't want people to be responsible for us. We want to pay our way. But I'm going to tell you, I had 5 years ago, my significant other of 35 years, Laura, saw me creating a little dessert for us with some fruit and some yogurt. And she said she thought I was acting funny. And then I fell against the refrigerator and onto the floor. I had a seizure. Ambulance came. Kept me alive on the telephone until the ambulance arrived. I was in the hospital for 6 weeks. I have no memory of the incident. But guess what? My hospital bill was over $700,000. Do you think I had the means to pay for it? And that was before I retired.
Right.
And started getting a very small Social Security check every month, which is like $700, y'all, because I dropped out of the system in 1997, the year after they murdered my mother. Then they murdered my stepfather in 2003, and then 4 months later they murdered my little sister. In 2011 they murdered my little brother. So I hate these son of a bitches. And the last 2 attorneys I hired, because I used to have businesses, I used to be Mr. Businessman, I stiffed them. And they didn't come after me because I knew damn well, and I told them, they were running a racket. I wouldn't trust these people with my life ever, and neither should you. Scientists, experts, big shots, the guy on the television. Believe me, if they've got more than 5 minutes FaceTime on the television, you cannot trust them, period. Turn the damn thing off and leave it off, or strip it and throw it out to the curb. Stop reading the local newspaper. It's junk. All of it. Live your life on your terms. You know the best way. If only you will take the time and figure out who that little girl or that little boy was and what were your aspirations in life. Because you had it right then. You just failed to complete the exercise. Just like me. At my website, there's an article entitled 9 Words. 9 words. Just read it. Reconnect with that little boy or that little girl, and you'll see just what I'm talking about.
What happened to your little sister?
She was taking 12 different medications at the time of her death at age 45. She started on this medical merry-go-round after the birth of her only son. She went to the doctors and said that she was feeling a little bit out of sorts and unsure of herself, so they decided to send her to a psychologist. And the psychologist decided that she may have postpartum depression. Then she was referred to a psychiatrist who put her on drugs. And that only escalated, so at the time of her death, she's taking 12 different medications that were applied upon her, prescribed by her trusted doctors. She didn't even know who she was. She wasn't even herself. She overdosed on a Thursday or a very early Friday morning, and she was found dead in her bed at about 8:30.
We have a question for you from Sheila Adams. She's a staunch supporter of the foundation, and you are now unmuted.
Regarding
Go ahead, Sheila.
Hi, Frank. Regarding your sister, my daughter's going through this, all these drugs. They got her on all these psych meds and stuff, and I've lost my one brother, and my other brother is dying. And I know this is not an accident from the nature of all the things that's went on in the last year. How do you handle yourself with this? I'm just questioning you. I do the best I can. I've had a lot of things going on lately.
Well, with all due respect, I mean, I don't have any family anymore. When I grew up, I came from a broken home. I'll be 67 in August. So my stepfather came into my life in 1960, the one who raised me, when I was, 6 years old. I didn't meet my real dad until I was 19 years old. And both of my parents, my stepdad and my mother, were estranged from their own families. So unlike most of you, I never knew grandparents and cousins and aunts and uncles growing up at all. In the last several years, I've tried to reconnect, furtively so, with some people that are on my biological dad's side of the family, but I can't find anybody on my stepfather's side of the family. So you asked me how I cope. Well, I had to get over my anger because, I've been angry for a very long time. I remember when I moved to San Francisco in 1981, I used to walk the streets with my fist balled up. The first day I got in town, I was robbed. So yeah, I mean, I could tell you some stories, but like your life, I mean, it hasn't been all bad. There's been some good things. I was a serial entrepreneur in my life. I owned my first restaurant when I was 18. But I also had over 100 jobs before I was 30.
Wow.
I had a different kind of a life than a lot of people, but, my parents raised us to be independent. We did not get an allowance. They didn't believe in it. When other boys were turning 15 and 16 years old, they were getting motorcycles. Well, I couldn't have one. I come from a military family. My parents were very tough, very strict. I ran away from home 3 times. In 1970, at the age of 16, not only did I run away from home, but I finally got a driver's license, and I was adopted formally. So, I mean, I could go on, but, my life is just one story. I mean, I'm telling you, everybody's life is important. Every person who's ever lived, who's alive today, that will be alive in the future, I'm telling you, you get the right story book editors, copywriters, and writers around them, they could write a bestseller. about that person. It doesn't matter how plain their circumstances or their appearance or anything. There's something beautiful, special, unique, and one of a kind about everyone that you will encounter in this life. And we're all flawed in many ways. So yeah, I had to get over the anger. But you know, I'm an older man now. I'm not out beating the bushes every day looking for someone to give me a job or $1 or whatever. Although I would like to do something like that. However, the money system sucks. It's so flawed. You can't hardly, in my opinion, you cannot invest any time in this system today if you have any kind of moral fiber in your being. That's just my opinion. You have to look outside the system and make your way on your terms. That means that you have to define wealth and well-being and wellness on your terms. You are the expert.
You're right about
if
that.
If you don't think you have all the answers, then by God, you have the ability to go get them. If you care enough about yourself. And that seems to be the biggest problem we have, is that we have forgotten that the first person that we need to love in this life is ourselves. Because how can you possibly know how to love anyone else if you haven't had lots of practice? So you should practice on yourself. It doesn't mean that you become an egomaniac or difficult to live with or whatever. This is just a truism. You know, there's two ways we learn. You know, you are an aper or you're a oneer. These are crossword puzzle terms. An aper is someone who apes, who learns by rote. And this is very useful when you're young. You know, follow the bouncing ball. But a oneer is what you really are. That means that you are an O-N-E-R, a unique, one-of-a-kind person in all of creation. There will never be another one like you. And your life matters.
You know, most of us, I'm going to say most of us, targeted individuals, just from paying attention, are all unique and all different, and I believe that's why we are entered into this program. We are good people. We are good people. And that's not okay.
The bad guys know us better than we know ourselves.
I know. Yeah.
And that's why they've been successful, to bring us to this point where we are today. Anybody that's making serious bank in this system, they're working for the bad guys, y'all. And they don't even know it.
I told my daughter, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's why I beg of y'all to read my website. You know, just go there. You know, it's a personal journey, okay? It's not about ego. It's about getting down to brass tacks. See how you can make connections. Okay? How do you connect? I mean, does the information resonate with you, yes or no? And then read somebody who's been at this since 1999. The book is entitled, it's actually 2 books in one. It's 2020, Our Common Destiny, and the Definitive Anti-Communitarian Manifesto, which was revised in 2012. You can download it and read it for free. It was written by a mother-daughter. The woman went to the University of Massachusetts in Amherst, majoring in journalism, Nikki Rapana, and her daughter is Nordica Frederick, who has 4 or 5 children. They're all toddlers, and they're living in a yurt in Alaska. But read the book. It's well worth it. Get a grounding on what we're talking about here. I understand it's new information. But, you know, get knowledged up. Learn what other people have to say about their experiences, this life, this system of governance that we all toil and suffer under today. And then combine that with your information, and you're going to be one strong puppy. Because I guarantee you, you listening to me right now, you know a lot of things that I don't know. I guarantee it. We all learn from each other. I'm not a religionist, but I believe this is how the golden rule best works. When you recognize that that toddler in a sandbox has as much to teach you as you, him, or her, then you understand what the golden rule is and how it's supposed to work.
Yeah, that's what I say. Everyone who comes here is a student and a teacher, all in one.
Amen, Frank. But I'm telling you, if you guys want to really get a grasp of what is going on, the games that these people are playing, this dialectical conflict that they're constantly ginning up, black against white, brown against black, men against women, you know, this is all by design. Don't fall for it. I don't hate anybody. I don't think you do either.
No, I don't hate anybody.
But I'm telling you, these son of a bitches would have us believe that there's this really strong divisions in our world. And they set these people up and they finance them and then they set them out, to destroy property, to hurt other people. They know what they're doing. I'm not talking about the people that are destroying property and hurting other people. I'm talking about the people that have designed this system.
Yes.
And I'm telling you all, if you will just read my website, the next time we meet, I'm telling you, we're going to have a lot more fruitful conversation. Because it really is about remedies and solutions, like right now and tomorrow. For you and everybody else. That's what this is about.
What is your website? I'm sorry.
Just do a search, Lark in Texas, 3 words.
Lark in Texas.
Or go to tinyurl.com. tinyurl.com/Lark in Texas.
Okay, /Lark in Texas, Tiny.
I've been around a little while, y'all. You'll find me pretty easily.
Tiny
and I'm
what?
easy to get a hold of. I'm sorry.
Tiny what? I got the Lark in Texas. Tiny what again?
It's tinyurl.com.
Okay, got you.
/Lark in Texas.
Got you. Okay, I got you. Thank you.
Start there, and the next time we talk, I would really like to know your thoughts.
Great. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Nice talking with you.
I enjoyed it, indeed.
I enjoyed it as well. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Lark. We have another question from Michael from Alaska. Go ahead, Mike.
Yes, you've said some very interesting stuff here tonight about William Casey, the CIA director. He did say he was still a director, that they own everybody in the media, especially the top person in the media. They admitted to that. And he also says some quote saying that if we get the population to believe the false information that we provide on the media, then they said they considered as being successful. Now that's a quote. I'm just paraphrasing it, but that's the quote he said.
Yeah, see, all stuff that emanates from the big media pathways is what we call agitprop. Agitation appeals to emotion, and propaganda to the mind. These people are practiced in the art.
Right. And Dr. Baggage, he said that the best time for people to get mind controlled and brainwashed is around 5 o'clock when they come home from work, when their brain activity is at a certain brainwave and frequency, and when they turn on the TV about that time when they come home from work. That's when they feed all that information in the news. Now, that was Dr. Baggage.
Well, yeah, I think they want them when they're 2 and 3 years old. They're coming after our children, I'm telling you, in a big way.
Well, but they do that every day, daily. They're just bombarding with that information at 5 o'clock news. And also, you said something very interesting about Anderson Cooper. You know that he worked for the CIA when he was going to college.
Wolf Blitzer used to be with the Mossad, probably still is.
Wolf Blitzer? Wow. He covered the Gulf.
Yeah, and Anderson Cooper is a son of a very wealthy woman, a billionaire.
Yep.
She was into the woman's cosmetic industry, and she's a billionaire.
That's right.
Yep.
You know, I mentioned earlier about communitarian law enforcement is being so evident in this country. And I mentioned consultants that were hired, which included Evgeny Primakov of the KGB, Soviet Union, and Marcus Wolf of the East German Stasi. But I could also mention people like Professor Herman Goldstein, who developed this thing called POP, which is an acronym which stands for Problem-Oriented Policing. Another gentleman was a man named Martin Seligman, and he came up with something called learned helplessness, the learned helplessness theory. These people also consulted with the Department of Homeland Security, which of course comes under which your local sheriff's department and metropolitan police department, all agencies of law enforcement in this country come under the authority of. Problem-oriented policing emanated from the broken window theory. The theory being that if you drove by your neighbor's house and there was a broken window on his house or on his car, or somehow his lawn wasn't well kept, say he had a car on the driveway that he was constantly working on, that problem, that meant that that man or woman or the family, there's something wrong with the people in that household. They were weeds that needed to be weeded out. They called it the Weed and Seed Program, problem-oriented policing, and it was based on the broken window theory. And that became what we call COPS, which is community-oriented policing services. And then now we have COMPAS, which is community-oriented mapping, planning of analysis with safety strategies. We have ABCD, which is asset-based community development. These are all communitarian law enforcement programs, y'all. You want to know? Remember the state? How do you spell it?
TIPS. President Bush started that. Terrorist information something, I forget.
Oh, there's just so many. There's just so many today. I mean, you know, we are all bewildered by all these acronyms being thrown at us. You know, and that's all by design too. Look at the fusion centers. But I want to ask you a question about cybernetics.
Do you know of a man named? He was a mathematician that wrote the book. I believe it was in the 50s or 60s. The name of the book was Human Use of Human Beings.
Yeah, that's
Cybernetic.
Yep, that's former MIT professor.
Cybernetics in Society was a total title.
Yep,
and his name was Norbert Wiener.
That's right. And MIT was like a funnel for the Manhattan Project during World War II. Now, Norbert Wiener wrote his magnum opus in 1948. In 1950, he wrote The Human Use of Human Beings, Cybernetics and Society, which he wrote in order to popularize his ideas across industries. And during those Macy conferences...
in that book, he warned of people that get into the wrong hands of computers. Well, he warned that. He cautioned that book because I read that when I was in first year in college as just a prerequisite for first year.
Well, you mean like Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos?
What do you mean?
These people are they know something about cybernetics. Bill Gates is a eugenicist.
Well, they're using it in the wrong way. But I'm curious as to what you think about Norbert Wiener because he cautioned about the morality of cybernetics to computers.
Well, let me tell you.
He's considered the father of cybernetics, but I think they just they're just using it in the wrong way totally, most evil way that you could think of.
Well, I mean, I'm telling you, big tech is dirty. Okay, big tech was still in its infancy in 1948 and 1950, as you know. And, I think he was just, he was taking a word that was originally coined by Pierre Ampere, from which we get the unit of electrical measure, the amp. And then he popularized that idea into the 20th century. He brought it forward. If you read about the history of the Macy conferences, which I provide links for at my website, you'll see what these people were all about. Now, when people say, well, how do you define communitarianism? Well, I could provide you 100 different definitions if you'd like, but the shortest one is usually the most accurate. It's a scientific dictatorship of the community. You have to ask yourself, do they mean me as part of the community? Or would that be the stakeholders? These human capital bond investors. Stakeholder capitalism. Read about what people like Alison McDowell are researching. Or Julianne Romanello or Lynn Davenport. There's some wonderful people out there that are very concerned about education because they have children.
Well, before you go, can you tell me the name of the book that lady wrote from Amherst, Massachusetts, who is living in Alaska right now?
Her name is Nikki Rapana, and her daughter, her co-author, is Nordica Frederick. And the book is called The Definitive Anti-Communitarian Manifesto. That's the search keywords. But it's actually two books in one. The first is called 2020, Our Common Destiny, which was a takeoff on the Brundtland Commission report from 1987 entitled Our Common Future. Gro Brundtland was a former prime minister or president or whatever of Norway. She was a vice president of the Socialist Internationale. But if you go to my website and you read an entry entitled Communitarianism, First Things First, or just search it on the internet, read that. Communitarianism, First Things First. You find it easily at my website or just do a search in any browser. It'll come up. And read about the roles of people like William Ruckelshaus and Russell Train during the time of the Nixon administration had in creating this thing called the Environmental Protection Agency. Read that. I'm telling y'all, I'm steering you right. Get knowledged up, combine that information with your information, with your own life experiences, and I'm telling you, you're going to be empowered to actually move forward. It may take you a while to figure out how best to move forward, but at least you're going to be thinking right. Because there is a two-part overarching agenda for communitarian policy and governance worldwide and where you live right now. Number one is depopulation, which is just a euphemism for total war. And secondly, it's techno-slavery, technological slavery. This is your future. This is the future of your children. We're not talking about the kind of war that involves rockets going off, cannons being fired, and pistols being shot. We're talking about psychological warfare, economic warfare, spiritual warfare, non-linear warfare, cyber warfare, cybernetic warfare. There are all kinds of war. The Department of Defense today is very much interested in cybernetic engineering and cybernetic warfare. They're also concerned about what's called meme theory and memetic warfare. Callie Lassen, who is an avowed nihilist, the one who actually was the father of the Occupy movement that he sold to George Soros and Hillary Clinton's State Department. He said, he who has the memes has the power. And a meme is a unit of cultural replication. It survives just like a gene or a virus in nature. It needs a host because it's a parasite. With the host, and you accept a meme and you implant it in your brain and you allow these memes, this memeplex so-called, a complex of memes, to animate you and to guide your actions and your activities, you are now weaponized. You have been infected with the memes that they want you to be infected with so that you can infect all through which you come in contact. It's called memetic engineering and memetic warfare. It's at my website. Read about it. The article entry is called The Art of Memetics. It's not such a big word that you can't understand it. It was created, it was invented by a man named Richard Dawkins, who is an avowed atheist, and coined it in a book that he authored from 1976 called The Selfish Gene. And you can bet your sweet bippy that people within the defense industry, the cybersecurity industry, big media, big tech, they're all over it. Whether you are or not, they're all over it. Because remember, it's all about agitprop. That was coined during the time of the Bolshevik Revolution. Agitation appeals to the emotion, and propaganda to the mind. And they're working you. They're working you. So you have to stop digesting their crap. Stop internalizing it. Live your life on your terms. You're the expert, not them. Forgive my rant.
Okay. Lark, it's just 10:31. It's time for our other guest, and you'll get many invitations to come back, I'm sure. And people are going to start to learn this. I'm going to push it, and it should be very interesting.
Believe me, all the smart guys that you'd have no relation to, you have no interaction with, not all of them are hip to this. We're talking about tenured college professors, generals, you know, big shots in the media or the big tech industries, etc. But the people who are the animators of the puppets, the puppet masters, they do. So believe me when I tell you, this is a war that's being waged, and you're in it, and you're the target of it. But it's not only just an information war, it's a propaganda war. And the battle is on. However, we can win this because all we have to do is remember the words of Sun Tzu. If you claim to know yourself, but you don't know who your enemy is, who that elephant in the room is, and you can't name the elephant in the room that everyone refuses to name because they're blind, like the Indian blind men in the elephant fable, then we're not going to win this battle. You can expect to lose at least half your battles if you think you know yourself, but you do not know the enemy. Only if you know your enemy and yourself can you expect to prevail in all your battles and win the war called life. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Lark. It's been a pleasure.
Good night, y'all.
Good night, Lark. Okay, somehow I have to get back to my screen, which is totally lost. Oh boy. Free conference call. Okay. I'll just have to wait here for a second. Wait for it to happen, I guess. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to end. I was going to. Okay, I'm going to end.
A head rush, but you know what it is for a lot of people? It's this appetite suppressant. And it's a little bit of an upper and a downer.
Okay, hold on a second. I'm having some problems here. And let me see if I can rectify the situation. All right, Lily, can you keep everybody entertained? I have to actually reboot to pull out of this. I will be right back in 3 minutes. Thank you.
Sure. Let me entertain you. Woohoo! No. Womp, womp, womp. Hey, everybody. Well, that was a lively conversation, huh? I got to the call late, so I'm only catching this past half hour. So,
Hi, Lily.
Hey. Hi, Tracy.
Hello.
How you doing?
Hi, Lily.
Hi. How you guys
Hi.
doing tonight?
Hanging in there.
Hanging in there.
Said some great stuff. So it was very communitarianism is something that already knew it was happening systematically.
Yeah.
You know, systemic dysfunction, but I never put it under the communitarianism that way. He's right.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think after listening to the call on Monday again, it all makes sense with communitarianism too, because if they're trying to dissolve Western culture, because it's going to take, though, here's the point, it's going to take a really powerful ability to do what's unthinkable. In order to break Western culture, meaning our freedoms, the way we think, the way we have been, you know, the land of the free, the home of the brave, the Constitution, our civil rights, etc., For them to break through that and say, sorry, you don't get to live your life like that anymore, is going to require engineering. And these weapon systems are the key to how they are going to accomplish their agenda. So, you can look at it like, what's the agenda, right? And we hear lots of chatter about what the agenda is. Everybody has their own opinion, but it looks like there's this big umbrella, and the closest thing I've seen to the agenda, besides what you can Google, Agenda 2030 or whatever, is this communitarianism ideal that is being socially, cybernetically implemented by the use of the weapon systems. And that's the part I'm not sure. When I hear Lark speaks, I didn't hear him connect the power of the cybernetics is due to the fact that the people who are behind the scenes, the shadow government, is operating a weapon system that can cause the divisions. They can blanket the frequencies over absolute communities, cities. I mean, they tested it, if you recall, with actual chemicals at one time. Now they can do it with this very sophisticated weapon system, and they can go into places. And have you ever wondered why you go into a grocery store and everybody's kind of like really quiet and won't say hi or anything, including yourself? You don't even want to talk to anybody. And then the next week you go in and everybody's really chatty and happy, and it's like an infectious, woo, everybody's, or everybody's a really crappy driver that day. And, why is it that it affects entire groups of people? Is because there is this nefarious group that has the power to institute these divisions that are happening. And so the nut and kernel of it all the communitarianism, if you want to call it that, or all the Agenda 2030, or all of this, whatever, is all blanketed with the idea that they have the most sophisticated weapon systems built ever in history. It's worse than the weapons of mass destruction that we grew up with, such as even nuclear weapons. This is far more destructive because, as we all know, it destroys from the human from within, whoever they consider to be a dissenter, or whoever they consider to be a whistleblower, or whatever. And they're using us to learn how to do that. And so I was trying to... Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, and even when a person is thinking that they're making their own choice, they're actually mind-controlled. And it's deciphering the difference between that and having their own unique identity, independent choice. And they try to take away that. And then when you do make a choice, you have to wonder, is it yours or is it them? It's like I have to decipher that. So even when and that's the power of the people that don't know of this stuff, when they think they're making their own choice or their own vote, it's actually manipulated. It's not really their home, and that is so sad. It's so sad for humanity.
It is.
Thank you.
I agree. And it's a tragedy that there are people who believe in their philosophy and their power enough to do this to other humans. It's the greatest I've studied history. This is by far the greatest atrocity ever in history. To think that people brazenly cross that line, they're beyond cowardly. They're beyond a bully. I've never, this is history being rewritten. So the magnitude of the weapon systems and the power of the weapon systems, every social division you're seeing, every moment, that are amplified, all the shootings amplified, all, those are irritations that they have sent signals out to our children. Okay, I've raised 2 boys and fostered as well. Our children have lived in the wealthiest country in the world. Our children should be happy and content. And instead, the bullying has never been worse. They're disgruntled. You've got children who are so demoralized that they don't want to go to school. And then you've got children who want to hurt others, and now we've got shootings in schools. Why is that? Where's that disintegration coming from? And, there's been an attack on families. There's attacks on everything. And it's because of these weapon systems. I'm absolutely convinced now, especially when I re-listened to that interview on Monday, and then so I've done some more reading and understanding Lark's some of Lark's website. So they're disintegrating humankind so they can implement their agenda, and the way they're doing it is with the weapon systems. So to cause that division.
Yeah, they are the breakdown of every relationship, from home to professional to personal, in every single corner of everything. They are the breakdown. This is the breakdown of it, and technology that I now can't stand, and I'm more against, and will not use memes or avatars or any of that stuff.
Yep.
Anything that has to do with the support of the advancement of technology, except what I need to have a phone for medical. I'm by myself, so I need to have it. Just those type of things. But I won't help them help destroy the fabric of, and that's what they're doing. It is the breakdown of every relationship.
Yeah.
All of them, everyone.
Yep. And so it's sending out irritation. You know what I call it? And I use the word spirit because to me spirit's energy. So they basically, tapped into the energy fields of everything, and they are sending out signals of destruction, of division, of violence, and mostly this is what I meant to say is it's a spirit or an energy of opposition. So there's the people like us we're programmed to receive the opposition from all the people we encounter. And then there are people who are receiving the signal to be the instigator or the snarky or the person who kind of, I call them antagonists. So there's the antagonists, and then there's the receivers of the antagonism. And that's happening in all the divisions of people who aren't targeted. There are these antagonists, and then there's the receivers of the antagonism, so that it's creating further divisions artificially. Now include us as the targets. So now we are the amplified version of the recipients of the opposition. We have been amplified and uber sensitive to that opposition.
Yeah.
So it's amplified. So it's the world is on energy steroids. Okay, let's use metaphor or comparisons. So it's this energy steroids. It's amplified. So now you don't just have quiet social divisions that people used to keep to their own tribe or their own family or whatever. Now they're amplified and they're
Thank you, Lily.
blown out of proportion.
I'm back, and we do have a guest, and I will unmute her shortly.
Oh, good. Okay.
Thank you so much, hon. Okay, let me find her. Okay, Chandra Burch, you're unmuted. Hello? Chandra Burch, you are unmuted. I guess I should never assume anything. Lily, did you happen to find or communicate with Miss Burch?
Sorry, Frank, I couldn't unmute. My computer's slow. No, I did not. No, I didn't.
Well, we have a Chandra Burch here, and she is not responding.
Hello, I'm here.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Very good. Are you representing Lauren?
I am not today, no. Was she, did she have a call today from 7 to 9?
She's scheduled to appear here at 10:30.
Oh, she is. Okay. No, I'm not representing her.
Okay.
I did miss her segment from 7 to 9 today, and was hoping that she would be on the call tonight. So, yeah, unfortunately I don't have any information about that. I hope she does show up.
Well, it's a little late, so we'll move on.
Okay.
You can, if you can communicate with her, tell her that I advertised that she would be here.
I will certainly do that. Absolutely.
Yeah, see if you can contact her right now, and we'll wait, okay?
Okay, just a moment.
Okay. I'm sure she'll be here. She is expected, and we agreed that through Amy, I think, that she would appear this evening. So I'm quite sure that she will. Okay. Lily, you and I will talk until we get confirmation here. And you're free to unmute as soon as you find her and let us know, okay? Hi, Lily.
Hey, Frank.
Chandra's right here. She is going to get in touch with Lauren Burch.
Okay. Yeah.
So she'll be coming back.
Great.
Lily, can you hear me?
I can. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Michael.
Okay, I'm up here in a small parking lot way on top of the hill, looking at the waters in the mountain here in Anchorage, Alaska.
All right.
Wow.
And
That is beautiful.
I'm parked in the way back in the back row, and there's rows of cars parked here, and they're just parking. They look at the waters in the mountain. But while I was listening to Lark and you talking, a car parked directly across from me, facing my car, with one light turned on, small beam of light, and just added on. And I said, this is strange. And then after about 5-10 minutes, I knew I was getting hit with that light, because my body started just getting unusually energetic and vibrating.
Oh.
It is so strange because she had this small beam of light just on the right headlight. Mm-hmm. I've never gotten hit like this through a vehicle.
Oh,
so I got,
yeah.
I figured it out what was happening to me, that I was getting hit So, this light was directly across my body here. So I got out of my car, took my camera out. I walked towards her car because I couldn't take a photo straight on because that light was so, so bright. So I had to go at an angle. And I walked toward the car, and there she was. I put my camera and took a photo of her in the car, and she wouldn't even look at me. She knew I had the camera on her. She wouldn't even turn around. But I got her picture, her license plate, front and back. And she just kept playing with her iPhone or whatever phone she had. Didn't even pay attention to me. Here I am walking around the car. But this parking lot, they know I come here to relax, especially during the summer. Mm-hmm. So there are lots of, stalkers or surveyors. Because I see them here, and there's a color code that they wear in their cars and their clothes. And I could spot them. They let me know who they are, actually. So I just wanted to let you know how this is the first time that I got hit by way of vehicle. Here I am sitting in the car, and the vehicle to vehicle, they could hit you. Does that sound? It happens, right? That's what I'm.
Well, it's really scary. First of all, it's a very, it's very, what it is? It's a very unsettling feeling, isn't it? To feel that when you were still sitting. Are you back in your car, safe right now, Michael?
Yeah, I usually sit on the passenger seat, and relax. But now I'm back in my driver's side. So I'm not directly behind the headlight, but she took her dog out and went for a walk like as if nothing happened. This is unbelievable.
Well, all I can do. Are you still there, Michael? Can you hear me?
Okay. Our guest is unmuted.
Oh, okay. I'll mute.
330-923-12. Nope. 336-779-3056.
That's
okay,
me.
You're unmuted.
Yes. Okay. I don't know what even happened there, but I've been sitting on this call. I heard the prior speaker for a while, and I heard you say that you were having some difficulties with your phone. So you got off the line, and there was a woman speaking, and then you came back, and I'm saying hello, 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 and nobody's saying anything. So I don't know.
You have to, see, it just says wireless caller. When you're coming in as a guest, you need to label yourself with at least your first name.
Well, it didn't ask for my name. It just said to make your call to come through. You have to do *6 and then *1, and that's what I did.
You're here now. That's the important part.
Well, yeah, I guess that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Go right ahead.
So, yeah, well, my name is Lauren Burch. I am from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and I am the activist and founder of the Cry Out Rally. And I decided to put this together because I learned that I was, I guess, a Havana Syndrome targeted individual way longer than what I even imagined. And I said it went back as far as 2012, but I think it was even further than that because there was just a whole host of unexplained things that were going on in my life that just did not add up. And they continued to do so, be unexplained activities that still was just not adding up. The more years would pass, and I said, well, now this there's something wrong with this picture. And so last summer I started getting stalked, and I didn't know what was happening, and I started getting hit with some type of weaponry that was targeted to my brain, which caused it to rock. And then when that happened, I got a nosebleed, and I sit there for a minute trying to gather my thoughts and try to figure out what had happened to me. And then I decided to get up and go in the restroom, and I turned on the light, which I'd never hardly ever do. But something said turn on the light, and I looked in the mirror, and I had dark circles under my eyes. So whenever it hit me pretty hard. And shortly after that, I began to get strikes to my lower extremities. And then I was getting what I thought was menopause, but I know that Mother Nature does not work on a time schedule when it comes to that. Some ladies can attest to that. So in the mornings I would wake, before I could open my eyes to get ready to wake up and turn my body to get ready to hit the floor, I would get a heat rush. It was as if somebody threw some hot water on me. And this was occurring every morning. And I'm like, nope, this is not Mother Nature. This is not how she works. So I come to realize that something was wrong with that picture, and it was. So there was just a number of things that in the last summer just started happening to me that, I could not put together. And I would start talking to my friend and to my sister, and I would say, look, these things are happening to me. And, of course, they thought that I was losing my mind. But I didn't know. I couldn't put a name to what was going on because quite naturally I didn't know what was going on. I started doing some research, and I started looking, well, maybe this is coming from a light pole, or maybe this is coming from underground wiring, or maybe it's coming from this new energy, 5G, that was placed in the home where I was living. What do you call it? The power line that they're putting in everybody's homes now that's connected to the 5G. And I said, well, maybe the energy is filtering off of that, but no. And I just continued to do my research. And so one day, it's like somebody smacked me in my face and said, look up directed energy weapons or something like that. I looked up, and then a whole host of things just fell in my lap, and I just cried like a baby because I thought, well, God, here's my answer right here. And then I got connected from that point to PAX, and then from there I learned that I was not the only target here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I thought I was the only person in the world that was going through this, but then I later found out that there were thousands and perhaps millions of people that are going through this. So, it just started happening. The more I found that I was talking about this to people, the more I found that it was becoming more and more aggressive. I was being hit even harder and harder. And I just said, you know what, this does not feel right. This is not supposed to be. Whatever's going on and whoever is doing this needs to stop. And so, I did a little more research, and I said, okay, well, perhaps we need to bring some attention to this. And that's what brought me to the cry out. So I decided to do a cry out once I learned that so many people were being harmed, and perhaps some were, being killed, and some were causing people to be killed. And I just said, well, we can't live in this kind of environment and be productive. And then God is not pleased with what is happening to his people. So he just laid it on my heart to try to do something to help his people, which I have always done all my life. I have always been an activist and done community work, and I have been recognized through the city of Winston-Salem with the Human Relations Department and some other departments here for some of the outreach work that I have done. So it wasn't really anything unusual for me to try to come up with something that I thought would benefit all of God's people. And I said, well, what can I do and how can I make it as simple as possible? So I came up with, number one, the cry out, which means that, since the CIA agents and the diplomats are the only ones that's being recognized as being targets, I said, well, perhaps we need to put ourselves on the map and let them know that they're not the only ones, which I would say the elitist group, who is being recognized as being harmed. So I said, well, perhaps we could call it the cry out, and then, we would go to our own Capitol buildings, and that's what we would do. We would cry out and let these representatives know that here we are. Can you see us standing here? We are being tortured. So, yeah, that's how it kind of all started. So having said that, I just decided that we would do the movement and make it a global awareness. So I understand that this is not just happening nationally, but it's happening internationally. So I said, well, let's just do all of our states and include international states. So it kind of went from there. I said what we would do, we would get all 51 states. We would get captains to represent that state, and the captains would basically gather up as many TIs as they could get and ask them to meet, ask the targeted individuals, Havana Syndrome victims, to meet the captains at the Capitol building of their state and do their rally there. And so basically I just thought, well, I would make it as simple, like I said, as possible. So basically you just go to your Capitol. You would have, I have a website, www.havanasyndrome.cryoutRally.com, and you can go on there and find out some information about the rally. But you basically would go to my website and find, I'm putting together a packet, and this packet is actually going to go to the captains of every state, and it will also go to the representatives of your state to let them know that, we have a whole host of information that includes, of course, the Cry Out Rally, the way that people are being harmed, the weaponry that's being used, who came up with the weaponry, and why, all about the fusion centers, the watch list, and all of that. There's a whole host of information within this packet that I'm working on. So when we're talking to these representatives, they can't say, well, we don't know what you're talking about. This is only happening to the elitists. Well, then we will say, no, it's happening to me. And then you, if you want to, go in and explain how it's happening to you, when it started, and basically what has happened. And so we have that information provided. I have also said, since there's a stigma that goes with this Havana Syndrome and targeted individuals, that I would come up with a living will. And I did better than that. I found a psychiatric living will. So that basically means that, no, we're not crazy. We're not having a breakdown or a mental episode where we need to be in-housed, involuntary commitment against our will, because that certainly has happened to me. And so I said that would be the first thing that would go in this packet, because we have got to, number one, get rid of that stigma. It's too many people being thrown away in these mental institutions, and I think the only ones that's benefiting from that, is the pharmaceuticals. These doctors, they're all benefiting off of our backs, and it's just a shame, but it's real. And so that's the first thing I think that is important, that is important, that should go in this packet. I also stated that it would be great if you could have your affidavit set up so that you could tell your story in your own words about what's going on with you, and take both those copies to your medical doctor, have them stamp their logo, which is what I just recently done yesterday, with the living will and the affidavit, and leave a copy there with your medical doctor. And, of course, you would have in there your own words about what's going on with you. And, therefore, when anybody starts questioning your being or whatever, you can say, look, here's what I wrote about what's happening to me. Were you listening? And then you have the psychiatric living will there so that if they, you start talking about something that doesn't appear to be right to their ears, then you can say, here's my living will, my psychiatric living will. You can't just throw me in a mental institution and shove medication down my throat, which we all know this is what happens. And I'm just going to tell you all this real quick story. So when I was put in the mental institution, hospital, I refused to take the psychotropic medicine because I was not homicidal or suicidal. So there was no need for me to take that medicine. Now, we know that that medication does nothing more than alter your brain and the way you function. So it actually can just change your whole thought process. So I knew that I didn't need the medicine, and then therefore I didn't take it. But what was happening is the medical doctor that was the head of that hospital would come in my room every day, and he would say to me, oh, I see you're not taking this medicine. And I said, no, I'm not. And so he had started saying to me that if you don't take this medication, I'm going to tie you down and shoot you up with a needle. And I just thought with myself, well, okay, well, now you are going to have to tie me down because you got a fight on your hands. Well, that happened every day for about 10 days. And so, I guess he figured, well, she's not going to take this medicine, so I might as well stop trying to force it on her. And absolutely, people need to understand when you go in the hospital, you can refuse to take any medication that they suggest or try to give you. That's your right. That is your legal right to refuse medication. Now, if you are, in fact, homicidal or suicidal, then that might be a need for that, but only for that reason. But nobody can make you take any medicine against your will. So the whole thing about that psychiatric living will is to say that I'm not, you're not just going to throw me away, and you're not just going to make me take medicines that I don't need to take because I'm not homicidal or suicidal. So that's the big part of what I want to have placed at the beginning of this packet. Like I said, there's going to be a list of information in the packet wherein, you will be able to read yourself, educate yourself, and know how to talk to people when you're talking. Now, the other thing I've been trying to educate people on is when you start talking about your condition, I suggest that you don't start talking about you being a targeted individual or a TI. 9 times out of 10, they may know what you're talking about, but I say because they're using Havana Syndrome in the news and the victims of the CIA agents and the diplomats, I suggest you use the same verbiage because they're being recognized. And in fact, let me tell you that Jeannie Shaheen, who is on the Foreign Relations Committee, just came out day before yesterday that they're getting ready to pay these diplomats and the CIA agents for them being harmed. They're getting ready to receive medical attention. So here's the thing that I'm trying to encourage everybody to do. Before this goes into law, everybody needs to call their representative's office and say, look, I am a victim of Havana Syndrome. And, again, you don't want to go into saying targeted individuals just right away. Just kind of go along with what everybody else is saying in the news, and that will get you payments, which is what they're getting ready to pay these agents and diplomats. And again, they are getting ready to give them medical attention, which they are receiving right now at Walter Reed's Hospital. So that's the main thing right now that we need to keep in mind, to not talk about being a targeted individual. You can, but I would suggest you not start off with that conversation, because it will eliminate you from any payments, or it will eliminate you from being able to get the medical attention that you need. So Jeannie Shaheen has said that, and this is where her Twitter part of the conversation came in. At the bottom of her Twitter page, it states, or at the bottom of it's called The Hill. So that's where I found the information, The Hill. So if you all want to look that up, you'll find what I'm speaking about. But at the last paragraph, she's talking about eventually that she's working towards getting this kind of help for all Havana Syndrome victims. So it hasn't reached us yet, but I again urge all to start calling their representatives to say, you are being harmed, and, you would like to be put in the bill that they're getting ready to vote on. Because if you don't,
Lauren, you have a question. Tracy from Colorado. Go ahead, Tracy.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Tracy.
Trace, you're self-muted. Tracy, you're self-muted. All right, she dropped off.
Oh, okay.
See what happens. Go ahead.
Yeah, so basically that's the main thing here, is to make sure we're accounted for before it leaves the Senate and goes into Congress for vote. So you all please get on the phone starting tomorrow and let these people know that you are representing us, and we feel as though we're being left out of this Havana Syndrome as being a victim, and that you need to be accounted for. And I think, if any time, we're going to do anything to try to help ourselves, this is the time to come out of your shells. I know a lot of people are afraid to even really talk about this, but I think because it's so much in the airway now about this, that, they can no longer just neglect civilians like us. They're going to have to pay attention. And I think the best way to do this is to just get out and, do your cry out rally. And so now I am looking for the captains of, like I said, 51 states. And again, basically, you're just going to take people to the Capitol who you have reached out to and make them aware that, this is where the rally is going to be. So that's going to be at the end of this month. That's the 29th and the 30th at the Capitol. July the 1st and the 2nd, you will choose exactly where you want to be. Could be in front of a city hall, your city hall. It could be in front of a library. But I'm telling everyone to make sure you get permission to be on private property. I am also asking that if you are going to be a captain, that you get your permit from your office to make sure that when you do your rally, you're within your guidelines. We don't want anybody getting in any trouble. In fact, we want everybody to stay out of the street, because for sure they will lock you up if they find that you are in the street. I'm doing some signage for also the captains or anybody else who wants to make copies. And you can make your copies and just make your own poster board. Very simple to do. And Having said that, we don't want anybody using any kind of profanity. That's another thing that will go against our rally. So we don't want to bring any kind of negative attention. Is basically what I'm saying. That's kind of where we are right now. And I have been getting some international callers. I've had a few people from Canada. I've had a person from Italy, and I think the word is getting out. So again, I urge you all to get on board with this, because if we don't, I guarantee you we're going to be overlooked, and it's going to be way worse than what it is now. I know that some of you are aware that Biden has passed a law that is giving the police more power to do more surveillance. So we're already doing bad with that. That's going to be times 1,000 when he puts that power in their hands. So, I'm just saying, and I can't say it enough, if ever you're going to do anything, now would be the time. So that's kind of, where I am. I do have calls Monday, Wednesday, Thursdays, and Fridays. So if you want to join the committee, please come on and join. If you're not going to join, you just want to participate at the rally, we do update calls on Thursdays. All of my calls are done at 7 p.m., and that's Eastern Standard Time. So, that's kind of what the Cry Out Rally is all about, and I hope that, we get the justice that I hope that when we go to court we can get some laws changed and, get these people who are committing these heinous crimes. I mean, it's just unreal at what is happening to people. And, I don't want anybody to say, oh, well, she just died of a heart attack or he just died of a stroke, and not really tell the reason that was caused to have that stroke or heart attack. See, and that's what these weapons are set up to do. So, that's kind of the gist of it, Frank, and I'll take any questions that might be out there.
Okay, let me see what we have. We've got Tracy Moyers here. Hold on. Go ahead, Tracy. You're unmuted.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Hi there. How are you? Nice to talk with you. My question is, instead of saying targeted individual, which I've learned not to say, by doing it, I agree with what you say about the Havana Syndrome, but I am fearful. People are sort of fearful to come forward, but will that cause more isolation, or will it help or hurt us to do that? I mean, I know that they're getting medical treatment and it's all over the news, and who knows how they will throw that out to media, if we'll get the true story about how they're really being treated there. But Havana Syndrome, saying it that way, I guess that's the best chance we've got right now. Will that isolate any more, or that cause more, they're like, sure, you're just saying that because it's on the news, or they'll call you crazy, you're just trying to copy people.
Okay, I only got bits and pieces of what you're saying, but I'm clear that it's about the Havana Syndrome. Frank, can you kind of clarify what she's saying?
Go ahead, Tracy. Where were we going with this?
Well, my question is, instead of saying targeted individual, saying Havana Syndrome, will that also isolate? No.
It won't isolate because it's going to relate us immediately to the diplomats. And the diplomats are getting all the attention. They just passed a bill in Congress to give them extra medical care. So that's telling me that they have probably V2K and a lot more.
Definitely.
There's a gag order on them as it is. So,
okay. Not to discourage anyone coming forward. I'm not saying that, and I don't want, and I'm not in fear anymore. Well, more, I'm not in fear, but that was just a question, not to discourage the Havana Syndrome. I think that's a great way to go about it.
I think it's a good idea. Targeted individual automatically, I always say this, psychologically tells people you're by yourself. You're a targeted what? Individual. If you're a victim of Havana Syndrome, that automatically says, wow, they're like the diplomats. So, yes, definitely.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, targeted individual has been around long enough. As long as we can relate it, we're all set.
Thank you.
Certainly, Tracy. Go ahead, Lauren.
Okay, yeah, I was just waiting. I didn't know if there was any more questions. I'm just trying to get us the best help that we can get. I think we're getting a lot of positive responses, and I just love and appreciate the support that I have been getting. But, I can't do this by myself, so I have only asked that, I have put the rest of the plan together as best as I know how, but I'm going to need representation from these states. And I don't want the perpetrators laughing at us saying, oh, well, we knew that was not going to work. And so, the best we can do for yourself and others is just show up at the rally. And, even if you don't have a captain, which is what we really need, because we need someone to speak to these representatives should they show up. And they will be invited, because we want you to call and let them know that they are invited, and let them know where it's going to be and the date and time and all of that. But, the best thing that you can do is show up, but the best thing we can all do is make sure we have representation for each state. And so if we're going to call this a global movement, that means that we need to have all of these states covered. And also, if we're going to call it global, we're going to have to get the international countries involved as well. So
okay.
I'm on here now asking if there is anybody who would like to be a captain, and it's really just as simple as it can ever be. Just gather up your targeted individuals from your state and go to the capital of your state, and that's it. Any volunteers?
What's the date? July the 1st? What's the date?
No. It's the rest of June, the 29th and the 30th. You will go to your Capitol building. And the 1st and the 2nd of July, you will go wherever you feel the need to go, where you think you might be heard the most.
Okay.
So I say let that be either the City Hall, let it be, the library. Well, the City Hall won't be open, but anyway, someplace where it's going to be safe and off the street. So you could go to your local library or a grocery store, just wherever you feel the need to be heard. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Frank.
I'll give you an answer tomorrow. I have to check my schedule because I have tons of things that I'm doing. So, I'll get in touch with you tomorrow. This number good?
Yes.
Okay. Let me grab a pen so I don't lose it. But Tracy, do you have anything?
And I will give my email. That's Lauren Burch, LaurenBurch, number 37 @gmail.com. My telephone number 336-779-3056. And the website, again, is www.havanasyndrome.com.
Okay, I never got an email from you guys at frank@aihr.foundation. So that's what I was looking for, but I finally found your flyer farther down. But your flyer went out in our advertisement for the show tonight, and it will be in the Sunday newsletter, and it will also be in the Friday advertisement for the Friday show. And I'm sure Lily would like to have it in her advertisement for her show. So that's what we'll do, and we'll get the word out.
Well, I do appreciate that, Frank.
You need to
come together.
With Jane from New York.
I'm sorry?
Janie from New York.
Oh, Janie is working on the committee with me, yeah.
Oh, okay, so there's no problems in New York then?
No, New York is taking care of business. They really are. They jumped all over this, and, you know, I think maybe they might have the most representation because they have been having meetings and doing things, and I'm like, well, you all go, New York. It looks like you got it together. So they're really a step ahead of the game, and I'm really proud of them. So I just wish, again, we can get everybody on board like that, because I'm just might afraid that we're going to be overlooked, and I just don't want that to happen. You know, people are suffering, and you know, we can just try to do something about that just by showing up.
Yeah.
If you don't do anything, stand at the rally with your sign and say, I'm here. Bring your hearts and your big voices, and that should do it, you know. That's going to put us on the map.
Janie was, I was hoping Janie would get in touch with me like weeks ago, and that never happened. She was on one of our conference calls, and that sort of fell on the floor, I guess. But it's been hard contacting New York anyway.
Oh, it has been?
Yes, it has.
Oh. Okay. Well, I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on with that. She was on my conference call last night, and I didn't know that, you know, there was some difficulty there. But I will certainly reach out to her and let her know that, that you're trying to make contact. So, I'll definitely do that, Frank.
All right. Yes, we spoke, and then she just didn't get back to me. Maybe her email didn't make it.
Oh, well, it's possible. You know, these devices are being hit pretty hard. I'm telling you, I've had so much activity on this phone, I don't think it really is my phone. I think it belongs to the perpetrator. They turn my mute off when I turn my head and not looking at the phone. They turn the volume down. They turn my pages, you know, when I'm looking at my phone and I'm looking at something specifically, they'll start typing and keying in, you know, putting numbers in, and I'm like, well, I'm paying the bill for somebody else to use this phone. And actually, you know what? Ever since I've had a cell phone, since 2015, this is the same kind of activity that's been going on. So, you know, you asked the question how long. It's been beyond 15, but I can certainly say I started having problems with my cell phone being compromised, and I started having problems with my Facebook page. They would take my name and apply it to their account and lock me out of it. And, you know, that just kept going on, and I just said, well, all of this is just not adding up. And so, like I said again, this past summer, I come to realize that it was more than what I even could imagine. And I didn't even see this coming. I really didn't. But now that I see it, I'm going face to face with it, and I ask you all to do the same.
Okay, do we have any other questions? Thank you, Tracy. Okay, I don't see anybody else yet. If you have any, okay, Beverly's here. Oh, she was. Okay, there she is. Okay, Beverly, you're unmuted. She's gone again.
Frank, I'm going to put you on hold for just a second, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, in the meantime.
Okay. I'm back, Frank.
Yep. Okay, I don't see any more questions. If you have anything more you'd like to add, feel free.
Well, I think I may have covered it, Frank. What do you think?
What about transportation? That has to be handled individually, and it should be stressed because that's tripped me up more than once. We have Patricia.
Yeah, I had suggested that you call your governor and ask them if they would do a free day to to your Capitol building for the rally, and especially recognize those who are disabled, because we want to watch out for them as well.
I agree.
So, yeah, that's what I had suggested, that we try to reach out to our governors and see if they would do that for us. So that would be up to the captains, though, to make that phone call.
You have another question. Patricia. Go ahead. You're unmuted.
Hi, Lauren. This is Gina. Again.
Hey,
Hi,
Gina.
Frank and everybody. Lauren,
hey.
has anyone from Maryland or Pennsylvania reached out to you at all, aside from me?
No.
Okay.
No, I haven't heard from, you say Maryland and Pennsylvania?
Yes, because I'm between both states each week.
Yeah, I haven't heard from anybody, no.
Okay, then. All right, I was just wondering then. It's just me. Okay, all right, that was my question. I'll meet you guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I think I'm going to open up the floor, and you can hang on, and I'm sure there's people that will want to ask you questions, not so formally. So
yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'm here.
I'll be right back, too. I am due for another coffee.
Okay.
Michael, why does it sound like a toilet when you get on your mic? It does. Doesn't
It's
it?
funny. I said the same thing. Is somebody going down the drain?
Yeah. What did Ronald Reagan say? He heard a flush of a toilet. He said, "Oh, that's all the Southern votes going down the drain," or something like that.
Wow.
What a character.
That's
right
the airplane going by.
Oh, really? Okay.
What kind of plane was that?
A Standard.
It's a cargo plane.
Yeah, it sounds like a cargo plane.
There are a lot of planes here that are stalkers. Their planes are marked with certain colors, like I said. Their cars are parked here with certain colors. Even the plane, I can't believe the extent that they would do to get my attention. They use planes and little boats while I'm parked here. Unbelievable. And I'm just one guy.
I say the same thing. It's just one little old me. You're spending millions of dollars, so I know I must be important, to put up these street lights that are purple and green. And every time I have a tendency to look at one or the other, they're blinking, and blinking really fast. And then you got your drones. They drive up every night around me somewhere. And pretty much all I have to do is look straight up, and they're there. So I say somebody's got some money in this world, They spending an awful lot of it.
Yep, awful lot. I don't know how many planes I saw while I'm parked here, and I've been here for almost 3 hours. And unbelievable. Number of planes with same colors. And they're all cargo planes. They're not like passenger planes.
Well, I just declared they didn't sound like planes. I thought somebody was actually going down the toilet. So they might need to put a little money into those cargoes and get them fixed. Because they sounded wrong.
They just want to get my attention, that's all.
Oh, yeah. Well, they got it. That's for sure. Where are you located?
I'm in Anchorage, Alaska. By the way, I have a question. You were talking about the cry out or the July 1st or the 2nd demonstration. Do you need a permit to demonstrate on the parking lot of the library or grocery store?
No. But I do suggest that if you do any of those, you go and ask for permission to be there. And, you get some written, get somebody to write it out because we don't want them to say, oh, no, I didn't tell you that, That's just one more way to get caught up. So I do suggest that you ask for permission to be on any private property. Because I just don't want anybody to be put in jail for a little simple thing, So just know that they will find any reason to try to break this up, and we don't want to give them a reason. So that's why I say let's just try to make sure that we're doing everything with decency and in order, and make sure, now all the time you don't have to have a permit, and a lot of times if you do something at the Capitol, it's based on how many people you have, and they base it on that because they need to know how many police officers that they need to cover.
Okay.
So are you thinking about being a captain?
I'm the only one here in Anchorage that I know of in Alaska.
Okay. I
ended up here by way of California and Las Vegas, so
okay.
I don't know anybody else, and I don't think I could make it to the Capitol. Capitol is in Juneau, Alaska, and it's pretty. Yeah. Well, here's another car parked right across from me with a beam. Oh, so many cars here today. So I have to keep my eyes open right here in the parking lot.
Is it something how you're all the way in Alaska and this is happening? So I tell people, they think that they can run from this. I don't care how far and wide you go. It's not anything you can get away from. And it's pretty evident because we have Alaska on the phone, and I'm in the U.S., and you just would not think that would be happening in another country. Well, number one, you wouldn't think that it would be happening in the United States on our own soil against people who are supposed to be Americans. But it's happening, you know. And it's so sad that we have to look other countries in their faces and say, you know, this is really going on right here in the United States, the land of the free, the home of the brave, you know. Because, you know, a lot of these countries, they look up to the United States and they really want to be here. And, you know, they know that this is supposed to be a free country. And, you know, really, it's becoming a communist, if you ask me, a communist country. So I don't feel so free and safe here anymore, personally. So, I'm sorry you're going through that, Alaska, you know. But it's happening across the board. It's happening across the board, yep. So, well, maybe you can go stand out in front of a store and just hold your sign up and just put, you know, cry out rally, and that ought to do it. You know, if you can't find anybody else in Alaska that's targeted, that's near you, just take a picture of your sign standing outside of a grocery store, library, or city hall and send it to me. But hopefully we can get somebody that would be a captain.
I'm thinking about having a poster or making a poster, but I've never made a poster.
Well, I'm going to tell you, it's real simple. You can just, we'll have them on the website. So all you have to do is just print them out, and they'll come in pieces just like regular typing paper. And then you just put the pieces together like a puzzle, and then you go get you some laminate or either some clear white tape and go to the dollar store and get you a poster board. And you will tape down or laminate your poster, and then you will have your sign. And that's real simple, I think.
Yeah,
you know, again,
I'm gonna have to visit your website.
Well, yeah, that's where you'll find your information. So hopefully I'll have everything completed by the weekend, but certainly it'll be by Monday or Tuesday of next week, if not by this weekend. So you all please go to the website and just look up the information you need to know about whatever it is you want to know about this whole situation. So, yeah. So I'm sure you'll find that there's some very informative videos and some links. There's going to be many, many links that all you have to do is just click on, and it's going to pop up a whole host of information that you need.
Okay, I think you've done an excellent job in such a very short period of time.
Oh, well, thank you, Frank. I don't like the way I'm being hurt, and I wake up every morning thinking about the next person and how they are being hurt, and I just I can't just sit idle and let this just continue to happen. I keep saying, if they're going to take me out, they're going to take me out standing up, and that's just the way I feel about it.
Yeah, it's over 9.5 years for me, so.
Yeah, that's way too long. 1 minute, 1 day, 1 second too long is too long.
Yeah, most definitely.
So I hope you all just will go out, if you don't do anything again, but take your sign and take your loud voices and take your full heart and go out and rally.
Yeah, I want to call City Hall tomorrow to see if I can get through to see what kind of COVID restrictions we may have. So I'll be in touch.
Okay. Yeah, again, it just depends on how many people you will have. You may not even need to have a permit, But again, like I was just telling the other guy, it's based on how many police officers that they feel they need to cover, based on the amount of people that are at the rally. So I think it may be in some places under 30 people, you may not even have to have a permit. But I still say go on, and I'm going to have that information up on the website so people know exactly where, how to get to their permit. I'm working on that right now. So if you basically everything on the website, just go and it's there. I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for everybody. Just go click on the website. And also, I just did a bunch of T-shirts yesterday, and so those are up for sale. We are now getting ready to plan our next venue. Again, we're thinking of Walter Reed to have our next rally. We're not just going to stop at one rally or two. We're going to have one every month until we get our day in court. There is some fundraisers that we're going to be coming up with, but to start, I did get some T-shirts made, so you all please support the cause, and please put the word out that these T-shirts are really good. They're really made very well, and they represent for the captains. They will have their name, not their names, but their states on the back. So every captain will be representing their state with their name on the back of the T-shirt. Certainly, if you want to get that same type, you can, but we're going to have some other ones available. I have some that says, I do not consent, and I have some that says Havana Syndrome and Havana Syndrome victim. I have some that says Cry Out Rally 2021, and it's got some information on the back of it. I've got some, I got several T-shirts. So you all just put the word out and let people know that that's available, and to support the cause, because we really need to start traveling around, getting the word out. And, if we're going to do this again at Walter Reed's, it's going to take some funding. And, I know everybody's having a hard time right now, but we want to be supportive of those who want to try to go and stay in hotels. So, you all just know that we need, we got a fundraiser we're working on, PayPal account and a Zelle account, ZELLE account, and you can, donate to either one of those. And those haven't been put on the website yet, but they will be hopefully by the weekend. And so that's it, Frank.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your participation in this. And you've done an excellent job.
Oh, well, I haven't done anything. This is God giving me, direction, and I've had some good crew members who have really been helping me and supporting me and making sure I get just what I need. So that's what's making this flow. It's not even about me. It's about those who are suffering. So I will remove myself from this equation and just know that I love you all, and I'm going to try to fight for what is right.
Okay, that sounds fantastic to me.
Okay. All right, Frank. Well, thanks so much for having me on here.
Oh, I wouldn't have it any other way. And I'll be in touch with everybody else, too.
Okay, very good. Very good.
Okay, the call is open. The floor is open. It's now open mic. We've had two wonderful guests tonight, and now we have open mic. So it's all yours. Come on, we have 58 callers on here. There has to be someone with something to say. Okay, if anybody has any questions or comments about the rally, You can write me at frank@aihr.foundation, and I will return Lauren's flyer to you. And you can get all your information from there. She does have a conference call from 7 to 9, I believe, Thursdays, am I correct?
Yes. So those days are for the updates on the crowd rally, and anybody can come on those. Now, if you're going to join the committee, we meet on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And so if you want to take a position, that's the days that you would come on, and whatever it is your craft is that you think it's going to help us move towards our goal. I did assign some positions, so those are pretty much filled, but we can always use extra. So whatever you feel like you would be proficient in, maybe you can write a letter. Maybe you can pick up the phone and say, look, this rally is going to be this day and the other. It doesn't require much. It just requires dedication. So I would ask and urge everybody to come to participate. We're growing, and so I expect that before it's all over with, we will be getting some pretty good representation from the news and maybe some representatives and some other official leaders to notarize us. So there's that. Come and join and get your position.
Okay, who has had trouble with number 515-604-9715 to access this call?
Frank, do you think you've been muted out?
No, I have a caller who says the number doesn't work.
Right. So, we have to understand that there's going to be a lot of compromising with these calls. We have problems all the time with the calls dropping and, that type of thing. And that's to be expected because we know perpetrators are listening, and that's what they do. They don't want us to make no connection. So, I just wondered because they mute my phone all of the time. And it doesn't take but a split second for me to turn my head, and I turn back and my phone is on mute. And sometimes I can actually see them doing it. So, they really don't care at this point. So I was just thinking maybe they have muted your conference.
Okay, I'd like to invite Lily up here if she has a few moments, and I'm sure she'd like to talk to you if she's available.
Okay.
She may have left, I don't know. Lily, you there? Okay, I think she is away from her computer at this point.
Hey, yeah, I'm eating celery and cheese. Sorry, I hadn't eaten dinner yet, so I was grabbing some celery. Sorry, I apologize. What was the question?
know the feeling.
Lily?
Yeah?
Sounds like you have a washing machine on.
Yeah, I gotta put my earphones back on. Hold on. It's the air. I have an air purifier going. I apologize, everybody.
That's much better. Yeah, that's great.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah.
Sorry. And I had almond butter. I'm eating almond butter too. So my mouth is like womp womp.
Yeah, celery is a radio person's worst enemy. Eating it. But yeah, I was wondering if you had any questions for Lauren or points that should come out?
No, but what a marvelous thing to do, Lauren. What a wonderful idea. So I don't have any questions right now because she's so articulate, explained everything beautifully. So
yeah, I think she's done a great job as well.
Yes. So thank you, Lauren, for your contribution.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Yeah, again, it's not just me. It's those who've really put in a lot of work to make sure that this goes off good. So it just comes from those people who are really dedicated to the movement. So I thank them, but I thank you for thanking me.
I wish we had the whole crew here. Ella and Janie, everybody else, Midge Mathis.
Yeah, let me ask you, Frank. I don't know if I asked you last night, but, I think it would be great if we can get these conference leaders to come on and do one big call with me, and then everybody can go out and explain to the people that comes on their calls exactly what we're doing here, because a lot of times you don't get the full flavor of what's happening, and it's always good to get it firsthand. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it would be good if we could all do one big conference call with all of the leaders.
Okay, we'll see if we can do that.
Okay. Well, that I think that would be a big impact,
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Or if you have Janie call me or get in touch with me, we can get Janie in.
Okay.
We'll see what Ella's doing. We'll see what Neil's doing, and we'll go from there.
Okay, for sure. That sounds good to me.
Okay. It might be a weekend or something.
That's fine. Yeah. And in fact, all the better. That way nobody's worried about trying to get off to get on their calls, and yeah, that would be great.
Okay. That sounds fantastic.
Okay. Let's do it.
Okay, folks, as I've said, the floor is open. We have 57 people with something to say. Well, Anonymous came up here, and that was it. We've got a lot of great people in the community, and a lot of great people that I'm sure will do something. Oh, there's something.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is it's short notice for us because we have so many irons in the fire as it is. But still not saying no. We'll see what City Hall has to say about it.
Yeah, again, I tried to make it as simple, and that's why it didn't take me so long to try to put it together. It's really not requiring a whole lot that you have to do except show up. Bring the people with you, and, even if you're not a targeted individual, you still can be a captain. In fact, I urge that, if you're not a targeted individual, that you would feel better being out there, but just know that, you know what could happen. But, yeah, I think that's what we need mostly. And, that's just the simplest way to do this. Just show up with your voice, basically. That's all you got to do. Show up with your signs and your voice.
Yeah, I will get in touch with Ella, and I will get in touch with Neil. I'll get in touch with everybody.
Okay, that sounds good. Right.
And Midge Mathis is a very good organizer as well. And we'll see if she has anything going on in Arizona.
Okay.
But see, like I was saying, it takes sometimes, like for Washington, it takes a year to put that together. So you are really quick to get this all together in such a short time. Membership, or actually people that are going to appear, may be the problem. But we'll find out.
Well, even if it's not as big as an impact on the first go-round, certainly, again, this is not just the one-time show up. We're going to do this every month. Every month, yes. And, again, where the fundraising will come in, that will really help us get where we need to be, is that we will be trying to show up in everybody's state. And right now, the medical part of it, I think, is vital. So that's why, we've talked about going to Walter Reed's. And, that's kind of, where our next plan of action is. That is subject to change, but we do know that we will be doing something, We'll be doing something every month. And it will be pertaining to
Go ahead, Anonymous.
Oh, hi, Frank. I just wanted to ask, is HC on the call?
I have no idea.
Okay, she has a clear head about these things. But if she's not on the call, I'm just going to hold off.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
For now.
No problem.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to mute and relax for a few minutes. I can't have the air conditioner running, so I'm going to turn it on for a few minutes, and then I'll be back. And I'm sure you won't be alone. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Oh, nobody has.
I was just going to say something. Sue, is that you? Is that you,
Yeah.
Sue?
I just came back.
Good. I was just going to ask a question because nobody's talking.
I know.
Well, I'm here. I'm here. Lauren's still here if you have a question for me.
Hi, Lauren. Well, I was going to actually, for you or anybody else who can answer this, for any of you research people that are in, do digging around, if you remember Dr. Giordano's, remember the circulating video where he's at the College of War lecturing about this is what the brain is, the battlefield of the future, and this is what we can do, and all those things. I'm trying to get an idea of everything that he described in that video. If you were going to present, you wanted to educate somebody about what we experience as targeted people, and you really needed some concrete, reputable information, would you suggest using Giordano's, I can never remember his name, I butcher it every time, Giordano's video?
Yeah, if you don't know how to pronounce the name, then it's probably not a good reference, but I would...
well, that's one good way to look at it, for sure.
That's not criticism of you. That's just, general presentation. But I like telling people to go to Dr. John Hall's book, Guinea Pigs, because he's very well-researched. He has treated and helped a lot of TIs, and now he got targeted. So Dr. John Hall's books, and Guinea Pigs is the one that seems to kind of give an overview.
I agree too, and I was going to also just add the though for not a book, but like as far as videos, without it being theoretical in I'm thinking technical, without it being theoretical as to why. For somebody who might only be able to watch a video because that's what they have time for. I was just curious what you guys thought.
I'm not big on YouTube. Somebody else might know a couple.
Yeah. As I recall, Giordano's talk was more of a pep rally for the technology, and I know that people were. It was interesting that he was pretty close to what we hear people, are experiencing on the call. So I think I'd just go back and review it again and see what kind of a presentation he gives or his general gist of it. He just talks about the technology, But I would agree about Dr. Hall's book because I believe it's a bridge that people who are not targeted can relate. And it's the only book written, I believe, that where people who are not targeted might be, the general public might be able to relate to why and what, and it's comprehensive, and I appreciate that in him.
Actually, I know I heard him being interviewed on YouTube. So if somebody could do a search for John Hall interviews, type in that plus targeted individuals, I'm sure he'll show up. Okay. Because I know I've heard his interviews, and they're very well, very well researched. He's articulate, he's clear, and he's level-headed about it. So, it's informative for anybody who hasn't heard about this stuff before.
I agree. John Hall has been amazing. He's been very descriptive of direct energy weapons and remote surveillance. He's written quite a book, Guinea Pigs, Technologies of Control. He's my hero. I read his book from time to time still.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, I've read it. I have read Guinea Pigs. I was thinking, just for a quick introduction, not even a quick introduction, I mean, if you were going to introduce somebody to this who was of technical mind, that I guess, yeah, so that wasn't a book. You know, I didn't know if you guys think, I'm sorry, I just don't know why I can't say his name. Giordano's video would give, and then also preface it with the idea that they could do what he's describing 30 years ago, include that little preface to the video. They were doing what Giordano is describing 30 years ago to people. And how do you think that they were going to achieve what he's discussing?
I would say very thorough, and if you all go on my website again, that's www.Havana Syndrome Cry Out Rally. At the very bottom, I've got a couple of videos that people can look at, and they're very educational. I would suggest YouTube Barry Thauer, and he explains a lot about the neuroweaponry that's being used on citizens in the United States. And he is very articulate and very simple, and I think you can understand every word of what he's saying. In fact, you probably would want to hang on to every word that he's saying, because he's just so patient at what he's talking about. And you'll see if you look at the video, you understand what I'm trying to say to you. He's very educational in the simplest way is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, thank you, Lauren, for that. That's a good idea. Chara would be very good reference. He does good videos.
And when you're also talking about the Cry Out Rally, I would appreciate if you would reference the website. Like I said, it's going to be a whole host of information that you can retrieve from there. Anywhere from who started the weaponry and why it was started, and all of that. You will be able to retrieve that from the website. We're getting ready to do some upgrades, and so all of that information should be on there. I would say no later than Wednesday or Tuesday, possibly of next week.
Be on where next or next week?
I'm sorry?
You said it'd be on somewhere next or next week?
Yeah, hopefully we'll have the upgraded information on there as far as the packets and the T-shirt sales and, just a whole host of information. We're preparing to get ready for the next rally, so we probably will have some information talking about that. I just would urge you all, when you're talking to other people, to tell them to go to the website so that they can easily find out what is going on with the updates on the rallies.
You have a website?
Yes, it's www.Havana Syndrome CryOutRally.com.
All right, that's not too bad. Havana Syndrome. What was the rest of it?
It's Havana Syndrome, Cry Out. So that's the name of the rally. CryOutRally.com.
Okay, I got it.
Got it?
CryOutRally.com.
Correct.
What day is the rally going to occur?
It's going to be the last 2 days of June, the 29th and the 30th, which is where you will go to your capital and do your Cry Out rally. And on the 1st of July and the 2nd of July, you will go wherever your choice would be, wherever you think you would have the most impact. And so, again, you can either go to a library, you can go be in front of a grocery store. I just ask that everybody who goes on private property ask for permission, and hopefully you get that in written statement to be on private property, because certainly we don't want anybody to get in trouble. So we just want to make sure we're doing everything in decency and in order, because we don't want to give any reason to, have anybody come up to us with a frown.
And that's in Washington, D.C.?
I'm sorry?
That's in Washington, D.C.?
No. You're going to your capital, wherever it is that you live, the capital of your state. And that's where, this is a 51-state global movement. So you will go to the capital of your state and do your rally.
Okay. I like the idea.
Oh, thank you.
Wish we had more supporters.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
But then again, like how TIs spread the word about their targeting, it gets pretty complex about how they can relay information from one to the other and then to the public. That's a hard feat to go to the public in my own little capital. I'm in Minnesota, in the capital of St. Paul. Did you say the day was June 29th?
29th and 30th at the capital of your state. And then you can go that weekend. And I try to surround it around the 4th because I knew people would be coming out. People would be coming in from out of town, and, they would be out shopping and do whatever. So, it'd be good if you could just go where you're going to have the heaviest traffic and do your rally that weekend. So even if you can't make it to your capital, at least try to go to something the second half of those days, which is the 1st and the 2nd of July.
Wait, but I'm confused. Like June 29th and then the 1st of July and then the 2nd of July, which day would be best to set up a table in front of our state capitol?
So the 29th and the 30th. So it's 2 days at the Capitol. So if you can't make it one day or the other, you can at least make it one of those days. And so you go both days if you like, and I urge you to do that. So it will be the 29th of June and the 30th of June at the capital of your state. And then, like I said, the second part would be the 1st and the 2nd of July. And you can go to wherever you have permission to be, just wherever you have heavy traffic. And you will be, your captain should be providing some flyers and information about, the Cry Out Rally and the Havana Syndrome and the targeted individuals They should be passing out that information to whoever comes up, who wants to get more information about the Havana Syndrome and or, some of this weaponry or, targeted individuals and how you're being affected. I'm going to have in the packet, too, like a survey that will be asking questions if you go to a doctor's office and they say, well, do you have high blood pressure or low blood pressure or whatever, you would answer those questions. So those, you can fill those out. You don't have to put necessarily your name. It would be good if you put your state. And let us know, if you're being affected in any way as a Havana Syndrome person would be or a targeted individual would be. So that's another thing that's going to be in the package.
Hello, this is Frank. I just wanted to let you all know this conference is ending at 12:30. That's like, 5 or so minutes more. Friday night we run a lot longer. Usually 2, 3, or 4 in the morning, depending upon how everybody feels. Okay, I just wanted to say thank you very much for coming, and be safe, and God bless. Love you all.
Thank you, and good night. Love you all, too. Good night.
Thank you.
See you Friday.
And when you split the other the big fellow percentage